Right now, in the middle of summer, your hive looks stronger than it has all year. The population is high, the bees are bringing in nectar, the entrance is busy from dawn to dusk. And that is exactly what makes this the most dangerous moment in the entire beekeeping calendar. Because in the next few weeks, a silent population of mites inside that hive is about to explode, and the beekeepers who do not act in this narrow window are the ones who will find dead colonies by spring. You have a few days left to get ahead of it. Here's the full story. Let me tell you what is actually happening inside your hive right now, because almost nobody explains this correctly, and the misunderstanding kills colonies every single year. Varroa mites have been in your hive all season. They are always there, reproducing quietly inside the capped brood cells, feeding on the developing bees, riding on the backs of the adults. Through spring and early summer, their numbers stay relatively low because the colony is raising so much brood that the mites are spread thin across a huge and growing population of bees. Everything looks fine, the hive is booming, and that booming hive is lulling you into the single most dangerous assumption in beekeeping, that a strong-looking colony is a safe colony. Here is what changes, and why it changes fast. After the main summer nectar flow ends, the colony begins to slow its brood rearing. The queen lays fewer eggs. Fewer new bees are being produced. But the mites do not slow down. Their population keeps climbing on the same schedule it has been climbing all year, roughly tripling every month. So you have a rising number of mites concentrated into a shrinking amount of brood and a slowly declining population of adult bees. The ratio flips. What was a low infestation spread across a huge colony suddenly becomes a high infestation crammed into a smaller one. This is what beekeepers call the mite explosion, and the word explosion is almost misleading. The mites are not suddenly multiplying faster. What is happening is that they are becoming concentrated, and they are shifting out of the shrinking brood and onto the adult bees where you can finally see them. By the time you can see them easily, the ratio has already tipped into dangerous territory. The explosion was building for weeks. You just could not see it until now. The reason this timing matters more than any other treatment window in the year comes down to one specific group of bees, the winter bees. The bees your colony raises in late summer and early fall are not like the bees it raises in spring. A summer bee lives about 6 weeks. A winter bee is physiologically different. It is fat, long-lived, and built to survive for months, clustered through the cold, keeping the colony alive until spring. These winter bees are the entire reason a colony survives winter. Without a strong population of healthy winter bees, the colony has no chance. And here is the brutal part. Those winter bees are being raised right now, in the exact window when the mite population is exploding. A mite that feeds on a developing winter bee produces a weakened, virus-laden adult that cannot do its job. If the mites are allowed to peak while your winter bees are developing, you do not get healthy winter bees. You get a generation of compromised, short-lived, virus-carrying bees that die too early, and a colony that dwindles and collapses somewhere in the depths of winter when you cannot do anything about it. This is why the beekeepers who lose colonies almost never lose them in winter for the reason they think. The colony did not die because it got cold. It died because the winter bees were damaged by mites back in late summer, months before the cold ever arrived. The death happens in January. The cause happened in August, and the window to prevent it is closing right now. One quick word before I go on. Everything I have learned about mite timing, the natural methods, the treatment-free path, the full seasonal calendar that keeps colonies alive without the endless purchases, I gathered it all into the Hive Vault over at dalechive.com. The link's in the description below and on the channel page if you want it. This video is free and always will be. The Vault's just the long version for folks who want the whole thing. I won't mention it again. So what do you actually do in this window? The first and most important step is the one almost everyone skips. You measure. You cannot manage what you do not measure, and mite levels are invisible without a deliberate count. The problem is that looking at your bees tells you almost nothing until it is far too late. A colony can look completely healthy with a mite load that is already lethal to its winter bees. The only way to know where you actually stand is to do a mite count, either a sugar roll or an alcohol wash on a sample of bees from the brood nest. This gives you a real number, mites per 100 bees. The threshold that matters is lower than most people think. By midsummer, a count above roughly 2 to 3 mites per 100 bees means you need to act. Many experienced beekeepers treat if a July count comes back above even that level, because they know what is coming in the weeks ahead. Waiting until the count is obviously high means waiting until the damage to your winter bees is already underway. The whole point is to knock the mites down before they peak, not after. The second step is to act on that number without delay. If your count is over the threshold, this is the window to bring the mite population down before the winter bees are being sealed into their cells. The old-timers and natural beekeepers have their methods. Brood breaks that interrupt the mite's reproductive cycle, drone comb removal that traps mites where they concentrate, and thymol-based approaches derived from the same plant compounds that have been used against hive pests for generations. Whatever approach you use, the principle is identical. Reduce the mites now, in this window, so the winter bees develop clean. The third step is timing it to the winter bees specifically. The critical deadline is that the mites need to be under control by the time your colony is raising the bees that will overwinter. In most climates, that means the mite reduction has to happen by mid to late August, at the latest, because the larvae being sealed into cells in mid-August are the winter bees emerging in early September. Treat after those cells are capped, and you have already missed the bees that matter most. This is why a few days genuinely matter here. Every week you wait is a week of winter bee larvae being fed on by mites you could have removed. There is one more factor that catches even careful beekeepers off guard: mite immigration. Even if you knock your own mites down, your hive does not exist in isolation. In late summer, as weaker colonies in your area collapse under their own mite loads, the bees from your strong hive rob out those dying colonies and bring their mites home. Drifting bees from neighboring apiaries do the same. This is why a hive with a low count in July can have a shockingly high count in September, even if you never saw a problem. The mites immigrated from collapsing colonies nearby. The lesson is not to panic. It is to keep monitoring through late summer and into fall, because a single July count is not a guarantee for the season. The proactive beekeeper checks again in late summer, specifically because of immigration, and is ready to act a second time if the numbers climb. The colonies that survive are the ones whose keepers stayed ahead of the mites through the whole danger window. Here are the mistakes that kill colonies in this exact window. Mistake 1 is judging the hive by how it looks. A strong-looking colony in late summer can be carrying a lethal mite load. The appearance of health is the trap. Count, do not guess. Mistake 2 is waiting until fall. By fall, if the mites are high, the winter bees are already damaged. Fall is when you find out whether you won or lost. The decision was made in late summer. Do not wait to be told. Mistake 3 is treating once and forgetting immigration. Late summer mite immigration from collapsing hives nearby can undo your work. Keep monitoring into fall and be ready to act again. Mistake 4 is missing the winter bee window entirely. The whole point of this timing is to protect the bees being raised for winter. Get the mites down before those bees are in the cells, or the entire effort misses its target. Picture your hive going into winter the way it should. You counted in this window instead of guessing. You saw the number climbing, and you acted before the peak. You knocked the mites down while the winter bees were still developing, so they emerged fat, healthy, and long-lived. You checked again in late summer for immigration and stayed ahead of it. And when the cold finally came, your colony clustered up with a full population of strong winter bees, carrying it safely through to spring. The beekeeper next door, who looked at his booming August hive and assumed it was fine, is the one scraping out a dead colony in March, wondering what went wrong. Nothing went wrong in March. It went wrong in the window you are in right now, the one he ignored and you did not. Drop a comment and tell me when you do your mite counts and what method you use to keep them down. I read every single one at Dale's Hive. And if you want the full seasonal mite calendar and the natural methods laid out step by step, it is waiting in the vault at Dale's Hive. Come, link in the description. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because next week we are covering exactly how to raise fat, healthy winter bees, step by step, so your colony goes into the cold as strong as it possibly can. The explosion is already building inside your hive. You have a few days left to get ahead of it. Now you know exactly what to do.